President Donald Trump plans to submit any future North Korean nuclear deal to the Senate as a treaty, a way to reassure Kim Jong-un about the agreement's permanence and make certain that future administrations can't quickly undo it, as the president did with the Iran nuclear accord, according to a senior administration official. Trump and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo believe any deal dismantling North Korea's nuclear program could safely win bipartisan support, according to the official who asked not to be identified. A potential treaty would likely be a long way off given that Trump's planned summit with Kim on June 12 in Singapore isn't expected to produce much more than a roadmap on the way forward. Trump himself has said the meeting with Kim will only be a chance for the two leaders to get to know each other. And most North Korea experts say Kim's regime will never surrender all of its nuclear capabilities. Separately, in an interview with National Public Radio on Thursday, Republican Senator James Risch of Idaho, who sits on the Foreign Relations Committee, said Trump, Vice President Mike Pence and Pompeo assured him the U.S. wanted to make a treaty of any deal it reaches. Trump says he doesn't need to prepare very much for Kim's summit. All of them are committed to seeing that they get an agreement that they can bring to the United States Senate and have it ratified as a treaty. Risch said, "That is not only good for us but it is also good for North Korea because they will then have a treaty that they can rely on." The White House declined to comment when questioned about a potential treaty. Another official, who also asked not to be identified, said the administration isn't ready to speculate about the outcome of the summit or what an agreement would look like, but said Trump looks forward to working with Congress if a deal is reached. The Trump administration sees a possible treaty as one way of reassuring North Korea that any deal would be permanent and the U.S. would stick to it. It was Trump himself who stoked fears of a U.S. reversal after he pulled out of the 2015 Iran nuclear agreement last month. The Obama administration never submitted the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action to the Senate for ratification because it believed passage was impossible. Former officials who have spoken to North Korean leaders say they are acutely aware of the difference between a presidential commitment and a formal treaty, and would likely demand the latter. "I know people say, well, North Korea doesn't care about Iran," Robert Gallucci, a former chief North Korea negotiator in the Clinton administration, said at a briefing this week. North Korean leaders are very keenly aware of the differences in commitments, and they will be, and still are, he said. The U.S. Constitution requires a two-thirds vote of the Senate to approve a treaty. One of the administration officials said it would be untenable for Democrats to vote against such an agreement given how tortuous negotiations have been over North Korea's nuclear program, not to mention the risks of the regime maintaining nuclear weapons. As part of the talks over North Korea's nuclear program, Trump could also seek to submit a treaty to the Senate declaring a formal end to the Korean War. The U.S. and North Korea signed an armistice ending the conflict in 1953 but never formally ended the war with a treaty. Such an agreement would also require the consent of South Korea. Any agreement over North Korea's nuclear program would likely take far longer given the need to pin down details of dismantlement and verification. And making it a treaty would raise a whole host of other complicating factors, among them the questions of whether the Senate would agree or whether South Korea would be a party to it and how it would be viewed by allies including Japan. "If you're a policymaker, all that does is make your life more difficult," said Evan Medeiros, Asia Managing Director at Eurasia Group and former Senior Director for Asian Affairs at the White House National Security Council in the Obama administration. "It doesn't make a lot of sense to me because it would have to be a South-North U.S. agreement, so that would be deeply controversial. Headline: President Donald Trump plans to submit any future North Korean nuclear deal to the Senate as a treaty, a way to reassure Kim Jong-un about the agreement's permanence and make certain that future administrations can't quickly undo it, as the president did with the Iran North Korea treaty. Trump submits to Congress 733 Thursday, the 7th of June 2018, 2:59 p.m. 201-859-07 Thursday, the 7th of June 2018, 2:59 p.m. Newsmax Inc.